Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 6-game NBA slate for you. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? It really helps the channel a lot. We do have a little bit of an injury report today. I do expect that this could have some play into the slate, but let's go ahead and get into it here. We're going to start with Milwaukee. Middleton remains out. Giannis is probable, so to keep that in mind. For the Hornets, Ball, Williams, Smith Jr., and Leaky Black are out. For Utah, Kessler is questionable and Porter is out. For the Magic, Banchero and Isaac are both questionable. Obviously, if Banchero was to miss, that would definitely change some things. For the Hawks, Young and Okongwu are out. Looking at the Nets, Cam Thomas is out today. For the Warriors, Wiggins remains out. For the Knicks, Brunson is questionable, and Randall, OG, and Robinson are out. No injuries right now for Oklahoma City or the San Antonio Spurs. For the Rockets, Eason remains out, and for the Suns, Beal and Gordon are both questionable. Nurkic is probable currently, so we'll have to wait and see if we get any more news on those guys. So I do have one core play right now, though I can tell you that there's a couple guys that I think might open up as we get through. But this is Trey Jones. He's played very well this season. Since he's joined the starting lineup too, he's really boosted his potential. His price is really fair today as it's come down because he had a couple off games last week. But I expect him to have a really, prior to the All-Star break, I should say. I, I think he's in a really solid spot here, and he's got a good matchup against Oklahoma City. And so I do think he has some viability here. Plus, this game's at home, which he's done better at, especially in the assists and stuff. So I think he's got a lot of upside in this matchup, and he's a core player right now. Uh, Let me go ahead and go through it in order of plays, and I'll kind of tell you who I'm really borderline on other core plays as well. Looking at Shea Alexander, obviously he's played extremely well throughout the season. He is priced up high, and his output has been solid lately. He's got good upside, but he will be harder to roster today as the value is a little bit limited today. We don't have the great value guys like we did yesterday from the Clippers and stuff like that. Looking at Wemby, Wemby's going to have a fun matchup here against Chet Holmgren, and I expect both these guys to have big games. He's a good alternative to Shea Alexander. He's been on a tear. He's also had 4 straight over 49 fantasy points since the All-Star break, and he's been pretty consistent. But of course, his price is no longer cheap. He is now 10K, so he is not a guy that you can get on a discount any longer. So while he's in play, he's definitely somewhat risky today. Now, Jalen Brunson is in play today if he plays, but he is questionable here as he did miss the last game with some neck issues. If he was to be ruled out, that would definitely open up a lot of guys. But he is in play if he plays because they have a lot of injuries already, and he's got a high usage as a result. But he is risky right now. I just wanted to mention him from that perspective. Looking at Devin Booker for Phoenix, now he obviously gets a bigger boost if Beal was to be ruled out, but he's been playing pretty solid throughout the season, though he has ups and downs. Since the All-Star break, he's had one really big game and 2 average games. But this matchup here is very solid for him, and I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity here. Now, he's only averaged 40 fantasy points a game against Houston this season, but even at his extended price, he has some nice potential in this one. If Beal is ruled out, he gets a nice boost. Looking at Bridges for Brooklyn here. Now, he's a guy that's very close to being a core play, but he has been inconsistent. He is very hit or miss when it comes to his value, but he has certain matchups where he definitely gets a boost, especially being at home. He's averaging almost 6 fantasy points a game more at home than on the road, and he's also faced Atlanta twice this season where he scored 60 fantasy points per game. I expect him to get up in the high 30s at the very least here, and that is his potential for this game. He hasn't shot the ball particularly well lately, so that is a little bit of concern, but he definitely draws a lot of potential in this one, and he definitely has the favorable matchup being at home finally, as he does play better there. So I do think he's a great option on the slate. He's going to get plenty of minutes. He's very close to being a core play. The only real reason he's not is because he's been somewhat inconsistent throughout the season. But you could. He is a guy that you can kick in here and look pretty decent. So um, then we're going to look at his the other bridges here, I should say. Miles for Hornets. He has had some good games lately. Now he's priced down some from where he has been. He's squarely a GPP play because he's been a boomer bust kind of guy, and this matchup isn't super ideal, but he definitely has some potential today, and so he's definitely drawing some upside because since since he's been playing more minutes, his fantasy output has been as high as possible. And, since that they traded away guys, he's got more usage as a result. Looking at Jalen Williams for Oklahoma City, he's got a very favorable matchup today. He's priced up some, but he has some potential 5x. He's in a positive matchup, a game that uh, he's been playing better and better as the season's gone, and he's become a clear second or third option with Chet Holmgren and Shea Alexander. So he's been a really solid option lately, and he has some nice potential in this one at this price. Then we'll look at Nick Richards for Charlotte here. Now, Nick has been up and down throughout the season. He has a high ceiling and a low floor. He has some good games, though, lately, which gives him a lot of potential. His minutes are a little bit shaky, but he does have the prominent starting position considering the matchup and the injuries to other options on Charlotte. Looking at Trey Mann, he's a guy I really consider making a core play as well. He's very close to being one. And the only reason he really isn't is because of his price. But since he's joined Charlotte and starting, he 5 of the 7 games he's been over 29 fantasy points. He needs 27 to pay off today, so he's definitely an interesting play here. He was very close to being a core play though on the slate. Looking at Cameron Johnson for Brooklyn, he has some potential today. With Cam Thomas out, he's going to have a lot of opportunity and upside here. Obviously, his price has come down some because he hasn't been super consistent lately. But he does have a favorable matchup here against Atlanta. This is an up-tempo game. That definitely gives him some potential here as he's been good in spots throughout the season. And if he can get over 30 minutes, then he'll definitely pay off here. But with most of the guys back from Brooklyn, he definitely carries some risk at the very least. And then we'll look at Keldon Johnson versus the Spurs. Now, Keldon has been inconsistent with his minutes. As you can see, he's had several games over 30 minutes, and then a few games in the mid-20s, and then a couple floor games. And he's been pretty much inconsistent because of that. But his price has come down quite a bit, and he definitely draws some potential in this one, though he does carry some high risk. Now I have a couple other guys that I think are kind of interesting to look at, but they're not super notable. Kevin Durant, he's fairly priced today, but he's hard to roster considering the other options around his price point that are better. But if Beal was to be ruled out, then that would definitely give you some potential there. Chet Holmgren has some utility today with Wemby versus Chet. This could be an interesting, fun game, and so he does have some upside there. DiVincenzo for the Knicks, we get a boost if Brunson was ruled out. Van Vliet has struggled lately. He's only had one game over 40 fantasy points, but his price has come down some, and he's definitely worth a look as he has a favorable matchup here against Phoenix where he did well in the past. He just needs to get over the 35 minutes again, and he needs to start putting the ball in the bucket. Nick Claxton has only had one game over 40 fantasy points in the whole month of February, but he's come down in price a lot, and he's got a lot of upside in this positive matchup. And then if Markelle Fultz joins back into the starting lineup, I would be interested as he's only $4,000 and definitely carries some potential here. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.